Lech Lecha, Torah portion 3. Genesis chapter 12 verse 1 to chapter 17 verse 27. And Adonai said to Avram, Go yourself out of your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house, to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation, and shall bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Avram left as Adonai had commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Avram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. And Avram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan. And Avram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. And Adonai appeared to Avram and said, To your seed I give this land. And he built there a slaughter place to Adonai, who had appeared to him. And from there he moved to the mountain east of Beit-El, and he pitched his tent, with Beit-El on the west, and Ai on the east. And he built there a slaughter place to Adonai, and called on the name of Adonai. And Avram set out continuing toward the south. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land. And Avram went down to Mitzrayim to dwell there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be, when he was close to entering Mitzrayim, that he said to Sarai his wife, See, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. And it shall be, when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say you are my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you. And it came to be, when Avram came into Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her, and praised her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. And he treated Avram well for her sake. And he had sheep and cattle, and male donkeys, and male and female servants, and female donkeys and camels. But Adonai plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Avram's wife. And Pharaoh called Avram and said, What is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here is your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. And Avram went up from Mitzrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Avram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Beit-El, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Beit-El and Ai, to the place of the slaughter place which he had made there at first. And there Avram called on the name of Adonai. Now Lot, who went with Avram, also had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Avram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Then Avram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Yarden, that it was well watered everywhere, before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Adonai, like the land of Mizraim, as you go toward Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Yarden, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other. Avram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil, and sinned before Adonai, exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Adonai said to Avram, Now lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Avram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Adonai. And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goim, that they fought against Bera, sovereign of Sedom, Birsha, sovereign of Amorah, Shinav, sovereign of Admah, Shemever, sovereign of Tsevoim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is Zoar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns that were with him came and struck the Rephaim in Ashterot Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Cham, and the Emites in Shaveh Kiryataim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as Alparan, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Chatzetzon Tamar. And the sovereign of Sedom, and the sovereign of Amorah, and the sovereign of Admah, and the sovereign of Tsevoim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goim, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sedom and Amorah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sedom and Amorah, and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot, Avram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sedom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came and informed Avram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Avram. And when Avram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them and pursued them as far as Hova, which is on the left of Damasek. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the striking of Kedorlaomer, and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sedom, came out to meet him at the valley of Shaveh, that is, the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Avram of the Most High El, possessor of the heavens and earth. And blessed be the Most High El, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him 1/10 of all. And the sovereign of Sedom said to Avram, Give me the people and take the goods for yourself. But Avram said to the sovereign of Sedom, I have lifted my hand to Adonai, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest you say, I have made Avram rich. except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. And after these events, the word of Adonai came to Avram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Avram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Avram said, Master Adonai, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? And Avram said, See, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Adonai came to him, saying, This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look now toward the heavens and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So are your seed. And he believed in Adonai, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Adonai who brought you out of Ur-Kasdim to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Master Adonai, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all these to him, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Avram drove them away. And it came to be, when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Avram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Avram, Know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nation whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be, when the sun went down, and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day Adonai made a covenant with Avram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Kenite, and the Kenizzite, and the Kadmonite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. And Sarai, Avram's wife, had borne him no child, and she had a Mitzrayim female servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Avram, See, Adonai has kept me from bearing children. Please, go in to my female servant. It might be that I am built up by her. And Avram listened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Avram's wife, took Hagar, her female servant, the Mitzrayim, and gave her to her husband Avram to be his wife, after Avram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. And he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said to Avram, My wrong be upon you. I gave my female servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Let Adonai judge between you and me. And Avram said to Sarai, See, your female servant is in your hand. Do to her what is good in your eyes. And Sarai treated her harshly, and she fled from her presence. And the messenger of Adonai found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's female servant, where have you come from, and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of Sarai, my mistress. And the messenger of Adonai said to her, Return to your mistress, and humble yourself under her hand. And the messenger of Adonai said to her, I am going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted. And the messenger of Adonai said to her, See, You are conceiving and bearing a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Adonai has heard your affliction. And he is to be a wild man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and dwell over against all his brothers. And she called the name of Adonai, who spoke to her, You are the owl who sees. For she said, Even here have I seen, after him who sees me. That is why the well was called Be'er Lachai Roi. See, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Avram a son, and Avram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Yishmael. And Avram was 68 years old when Hagar bore Yishmael to Avram. And it came to be, when Avram was 99 years old, that Adonai appeared to Avram and said to him, I am El Shaddai, walk before me and be perfect. And I give my covenant between me and you, and shall greatly increase you. And Avram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name called Avram, but your name shall be Avraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. And I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you, and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, every male child in your generations, he who is born in your house, or bought with silver, from any foreigner who is not your seed. He who is born in your house, and he who is bought with your silver, has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, for an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male child, who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Sovereigns of people are to be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, Is a child born to a man who is 100 years old? Or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child? And Abraham said to Elohim, Oh, let Ishmael live before you. And Elohim said, No, Sarah your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Yitzchak. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him, and shall make him fruitful, and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I establish with Yitzchak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old, when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that same day, and all the men of his house, born in the house or bought with silver from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. Haftarah. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 27 to chapter 41 verse 16. Why do you say, O Yaakov, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from Adonai, and my rights are overlooked by my Elohim? Did you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting Elohim, Adonai, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to those who have no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who wait on Adonai renew their strength. They raise up the wing like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint. Be silent before me, you coastlands, and let peoples renew their power. Let them come near, then let them speak. Let us come together for right ruling. Who raised up the righteous one from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made sovereigns submit to him? He gave them as the dust to his sword, as driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them, passed over in safety, by a path that he had not gone with his feet. Who has performed and done it, calling the generations from the beginning? I, Adonai, am the first, and with the last I am he. Coastlands see it and fear. The ends of the earth are afraid. They draw near and come. Everyone helps his neighbor and says to his brother, Be strong. And the craftsman strengthens the goldsmith. He who smooths with the hammer inspires him who strikes the anvil, saying of the joining, It is good. And he strengthens it with nails, so it does not totter. But you, Israel, are my servant, Yaakov, whom I have chosen, the descendants of Abraham who loved me, whom I have strengthened from the ends of the earth, and called from its farthest parts, and said to you, You are my servant. I have chosen you, and have not rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. See, all those who raged against you are ashamed and blush. They are as non-existent, and the men who strive with you perish. You seek them but do not find them, those who struggle with you. Those who fight you are as non-existent as naught. For I, Adonai your Elohim, am strengthening your right hand, saying to you, Do not fear, I shall help you. Do not fear, you worm of Yaakov, you men of Israel. I shall redeem you, declares Adonai, and your Redeemer, the set-apart one of Israel. See, I shall make you into a new threshing sledge with sharp teeth. Let you thresh mountains and beat them small, and make hills like chaff. You winnow them. The wind lifts them up, and the whirlwind scatters them. But you rejoice in Adonai, and boast in the set-apart one of Israel. Brit Chadashah. Romans chapter 4 verse 1 to 25. What then shall we say Abraham our father to have found according to the flesh? For if Abraham was declared right by works, he has ground for boasting, but not before Elohim. For what does Scripture say? Abraham believed Elohim, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And to him who is working, the reward is not reckoned as a favor, but as a debt. And to him who is not working, but believes on him who is declaring right the wicked, his belief is reckoned for righteousness. Even as David also says of the blessedness of the man to whom Elohim reckons righteousness without works. Blessed are those whose lawlessness are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom Adonai shall by no means reckon sin. Is this blessing then upon the circumcised only, or also upon the uncircumcised? For we affirm, belief was reckoned unto Abraham for righteousness. How then was it reckoned? Being in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision? And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the belief, while in uncircumcision, for him to be a father of all those believing through uncircumcision, for righteousness to be reckoned to them also, and the father of circumcision to those who not only are of the circumcision, but who also walk in the steps of the belief which our father Abraham had in uncircumcision. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the Torah, but through a righteousness of belief. For if those who are of the Torah are heirs, belief has been made useless, and the promise has been nullified. For the Torah works out wrath, for where there is no Torah, there is no transgression. On account of this, it is of belief, that it be according to favor, for the promise to be made certain to all the seed, not only to those who are of the Torah, but also to those who are of the belief of Abraham, who is father of us all. As it has been written, I have made you a father of many nations. In the presence of him whom he believed, even Elohim who gives life to the dead, and calls that which does not exist as existing, who against all expectation did believe, in expectation, so that he should become father of many nations, according to what was said, so shall your seed be. And not having grown weak in belief, he did not consider his own body already dead, being about 100 years old, and the deadness of Sarah's womb. He did not hesitate about the promise of Elohim through unbelief, but was strengthened in belief, giving esteem to Elohim, and being completely persuaded that what he had promised he was also able to do. Therefore also it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And not because of him alone was it written that it was reckoned to him, but also because of us, to whom it shall be reckoned, to us who believe in him who raised up Yeshua our Master from the dead, who was delivered up because of our trespasses, and was raised for us to be declared right.